Beautiful renditions of both national anthems here today in Landover, Maryland. The team handshakes now, and I bring in Janis Mihalik. And Janis, let's talk about Spain and what they're looking to accomplish here today under Vicente Del Bosque.
It's the last test, Glenn, of course, and I think we're going to get a look in what's going to be a close to starting 11. And I think once we see their lineup, still a question about one or two players, but very, very strong lineup. In terms of El Salvador, of course, as you've mentioned, a new cycle, if you will, a lot of young players, of course, that want to show themselves. I mean, it doesn't get any better. You've mentioned defending World Cup champions, European champions as well. One of the favorites, of course, to beat them in the final and perhaps win it once again.
Baldomero Toledo, many people know him from Major League Soccer in the United States, is the head man here today. There's a good look at El Salvador. 3 U.S.-based players for them. A mix of a few veterans, but mostly rising potentials. And this is star-laden Spain, who are one of the favorites in Brazil. And as you look at Cesc Fabregas, the 27-year-old. And, of course, a good look here at Kevin Santamaria, who plays in Guatemala with Municipal. So, Vicente Del Bosque, well, what can you say about him? He led Spain, and he is to the right there. He led Spain to the 2010 World Cup win, followed that up with the European Championship win, and of course took over for the legendary Luis Aragonés.
Yes, and it's good that you've mentioned Luis Aragonés, of course, because his passing away is going to make a difference here. I think these players are playing for him. They've stated that as much, that they will remember how much he has accomplished for Spain, of course. Del Bosque, a legend himself, of course, not just with Real Madrid, but with this current Spain team.
There is Diego Costa. That is good news for Spain. He is in the starting lineup today. That is one of the main storylines here. Let's go first, though, to El Salvador starting lineup. Here's the Azul y Blanco, and of course, it was Arturo Alvarez who had the goal against the Ivory Coast. They played better in the second half.
And you played a part in Arturo Alvarez, of course, coaching him when he was a young player. There's an American flavor here everywhere. Darwin Seren with Orlando City, of course, and Menjivar as well. They're going to be important.
And the Spanish starting lineup, look at the stars here.
Well, where do you start? You know, Javi Martinez playing centrally, no Piqué, of course. That could change in Brazil. And when you look everywhere else, I'll tell you what, this is close. Andres Iniesta, of course, he's gonna have to be significant in terms of creativity. I think he will. The young Koke, what a season for him, and Atletico Madrid as well. Pedro with his pace, of course, and Diego Costa. That's important that he starts because it puts away the speculations. It lets everyone know that he is healthy, of course. If he wasn't 100%, he wouldn't have been in the starting 11. So psychologically, an important test for him as well.
And we'll watch his mobility here today. Baldomero Toledo's the ref. El Salvador in blue, Spain in red. Game on here in Landover, Maryland. A rare look at the current World Cup holders here on U.S. soil. Spain looking to do it back-to-back.
Right.
Winning 2 consecutive World Cups this summer in Brazil. The last time that happened was in 58 and 62 by Brazil themselves. Switch of play here. Juanfran knocks it inside. 17 is Koke. The left back is Jordi Alba. And Will Ramos sticking one over the top towards the very mobile and elusive Pedro.
Yeah, and don't take that for granted. Look at Sergio Ramos with that ball, of course, that initiates that attack. It's a wonderful ball, over 30, 40 yards right there, and he's going to be able to pick him out. When you look at Spain, of course, you know about their possession. Sometimes maybe over-possessing, but let's face it, what's the most important thing in the game? It is the ball, isn't it? They take care of the ball pretty well. Sometimes, you know, what I'm looking for is, you know, how effectively can they penetrate this El Salvadorian team?
Man, El Salvador doing what they did against the Ivory Coast in the first half, playing with a 5-man midfield. It's thick and heavy here, Janis. But it's being broken down here right now. Knifing across. And with the huge roars coming from the El Salvador fans, who have a very unique relationship to Spanish football. They are huge supporters of La Liga, and every person in El Salvador is either a Real Madrid or Barcelona fan.
And you can sense that respect that the Spanish team got from the crowd from El Salvador as well, and I think that's always significant. And I think, without taking away, taking the credit away from El Salvador, this is a perfect opponent for Spain, isn't it? Because this is a team, as you mentioned, 5 midfielders, numbers that Spain will have to break down. They're going to face that, of course, in Brazil as well. Yes, they're playing Holland, but they're playing Chile, who's going to be well organized, and you have to break that down.
Breaking it down here right now. Off his line, Henry makes a save. There's contact. They're going to point to the penalty spot. Yeah, this may have been harsh.
Whoa.
Here on goalkeeper Henry Hernandez, who gets a start here today, but boy, this changes the game here only 3 minutes in.
It did, because even Diego Costa didn't ask for it. You could sense it. I bet you he's surprised a little bit, because it seems to me on the first look that Henry Hernandez came out, challenged Diego Costa right there, got to the ball first. Now, in the follow-up, was there contact? Probably, but I think, in that situation, again, I'd like to see a second look, but my gut feeling tells me that this is a wrong decision.
Cesc Fabregas is going to step up to take the penalty. Remember, he signed at Arsenal at age 16. 88 caps, 13 goals for Spain. Fabregas against Hernandez. Hesitates and blows his penalty over the top. So maybe justice there.
Well, yeah, maybe not, but psychologically that's certainly not good for Fabregas, of course. I mean, he's a player that's capable of scoring, not just from the spot, but from the run of play as well, and, this is a big miss. I mean, look at this. Look at the goalkeeper, not moving right there, just challenged me, right? Steps out here, and, it seems close, but really, as a penalty taker, you want to put that in the back of the net early in the game. That gives you confidence going forward. He's a professional, but if there's a penalty to be taken in Brazil, he's going to remember that. That's the last thing he's going to remember. That's never a good thing.
Giannis, did he overthink it with the... We'll get back to that in a second, because here's El Salvador trying to get the game's first goal. And that was powering down the right side, Rafael Burgos, who gets a start here today, who plays in Hungary, his 32nd appearance.
Yeah, what an opportunity that was, and 2 players right in front of goal. He needed to probably pick him out. But Kevin Santamaria was there, Andres Flores just waiting to tap it in, so maybe a little bit of nervousness there, but fair play to Rafael Burgos, the way he got free and the way he got open.
Ramos again trying it over the top to Diego Costa, pretty direct there. Back to the Fabregas penalty. Did he overthink it on the approach, the 2 hesitations?
No, I'm not so sure that he did. Let's have a look here as Hernandez comes in. Gets the ball, gets the player at the same time. I can understand why the referee may think that. Of course, on the second look, it's always easier. So we got to give credit to the referee, because it's tough. Even we sometimes don't see it perfectly. I think there might have been contact just before he gets to the ball.
Burgos again chasing this one down. He gets the start here tonight instead of Lester Blanco. And by the way, could Baldomero Toledo, just more with the knowledge of Spain going to the World Cup, maybe be protecting them a little bit here today?
I hope not, really. I mean, yes, on one hand, you're saying, yes, this is a big occasion. Of course, we've seen a number of late injury. Marco Reus, the latest one, of course, just happened last night. But... you hope not. You got to call the game, I suppose. I almost think that the managers, I'm sure, have spoken ahead of
the
this
top
game.
Again. Here's Pedro. It's knocked away. How quick it happened. Released was Pedro. He's denied with a good save there by Henry Hernandez.
He's adventurous, isn't he? Again, I mean, he's really, for me, he's a little bit out of position, as you see. No questions of being on site right there, as you can see it here. Pedro does everything right. Look at that first touch to bring it down. I think it jumped on him a little bit too high. Hernandez comes out and does a good job.
And he does again, coming off his line to pick that cross off. Hernandez plays for Medipon. It's only his 5th cap here tonight. He's playing Derby. Carrillo got the start against the Ivory Coast in a 2-1 loss in Dallas on Wednesday night for El Salvador, but they had a better second half in that game.
By the way, this is a little bit different from Spain. Not that we don't see it, but you look at that possession. They try to play short. They try to combine, obviously. But we've seen a couple of balls over the top, haven't we? Sergio Ramos deliver one, Alba now. So I suppose that the opponents in that group, like Holland and Chile, will have a look at this game. No questions about that. And just a different look. And it happens in the round of play. This is not unusual. But this early in the game, certainly a different tactic.
Clearly that's made possible with the insertion of Costa, who's making the run now. And maybe a free kick as Iniesta was brought down in midfield. Boy, what an amazing player this man is. Number 6, Andres Iniesta. 30 years old. Today is 96th cap. 12 goals for Spain. And, of course, the linchpin at Barcelona.
And he's gonna be important. Now, let's not forget, Xavi is not starting. Most likely he will not play as much, of course. Wonderful player when you see Xavi and Iniesta together, not just for Spain, but for Barcelona. You look at Iniesta, and he's going to have to be that creator. I think he's going to have a significant tournament, very much like he did in Poland, Ukraine, and European Championships. Not just scoring the final, but he was just outstanding.
17 is Koke. Get into the attack. Creeping forward was Juanfran. And here is Javi Martinez. You and I walked past him in the tunnel as they went out to check the field out today. That is one tall, strong-looking man, Javi Martinez, who plays for Bayern Munich, the only non-La Liga player in this starting lineup. Looked in cross, and Henry would pick that up.
Difficult season for him in terms of injuries, and I always feel for him because he is a center back that's been playing in the center of the midfield by Bayern Munich, of course. When so I think he's sometimes caught in two minds. Where is that? His best position. He's very good and effective in both. We see him here playing instead of Piqué, of course. We'll see what Brazil brings in terms of his role on this team.
Fabregas over the top. That was Andres Iniesta now making the deeper run, trying to get behind El Salvador. Spain has won it back near the top of the box.
You're going to have fluidity with the Spanish team, interchanging position. Of course, Diego Costa is significant. You and I have talked about it. That false 9. I mean, at the very least right now, Diego Costa and Spain are playing with a true striker. Remember how they won the last tournament.
Bad giveaway. Pedro squares it. Trying to side foot it in. Was Fabregas, and his shot was blocked. Xabi Alonso now. What a touch, what a shot, saved and cleared by El Salvador. That was Fabregas again letting fly. Burgos now. There was a man just besieged by red uniforms there at the halfway line.
Speaking of that false 9 role, that was Fabregas, of course. He played that role in the last European Championships. A number of chances for him early on.
How important is it to get this decision done about Diego Costa, whether he's going to play or not in this World Cup? Because it certainly alters things tactically.
I think it's huge. There's no question. But, it's good to know Del Bosque saying, okay, I can play with Costa, but I can always go back to playing that full, with Cesc, of course, without a striker. And you see 3 chances for Cesc Fabregas, more so than Diego Costa already.
Iniesta now. Cuts eludes one, trying to play into the feet, comes back to Iniesta. Still Iniesta. Squares it back and clear. Xavier Garcia. Long-range hit here, skipping, kept in front of Hernandez. That shot coming from none other than Sergio Ramos, the Champions League hero.
Hernandez has been good, hasn't he? On the bounce like this, you could see how that ball could get away from him. Unfortunately for El Salvador, everyone took that for granted. Nobody followed up, and you can see Pedro was looking for seconds there.
And off the head of Alonso, back to the goalkeeper. There's a free kick. Javi Martinez. By the way, Javi Martinez played over 200 games for Athletic Bilbao. Before he made the move to Bayern Munich, it was huge money. Burgos again, and tracking all the way back there is Jordi Alba.
It was a wonderful season for Bilbao under Marcelo Bielsa. Remember, Javi Martinez left Llorente, although in a different way. He wanted to leave, but what a
more direct play here towards Pedro. So you made a good observation here, Jan. You would see a lot more direct football than we've noticed from Spain in the past.
Yeah, I think they see, El Salvador playing fairly high line. You wouldn't expect that, and I think, and I'm not sure if it's a tactic. Sometimes great players recognize that within the game. So if you see that line, of course you're going to try to play in behind the back four.
So do you see this as being a much very different Spain than the one that won the 2010 World Cup?
I would hope so. Yes, I would hope so. Just the fact that Diego Costa is playing gives you a lot, doesn't it? I mean, you have a target man that you can't play over the top. To be quite frank, they haven't been looking for him so much. It's been Pedro really that's getting on the end of those longer balls. But you want to have a balanced team. You want to have a team that can possess and a team that can be direct as well.
I think you're right. They're getting tempted by the high line. Stumbling and not able to keep control there was Pedro. He made his debut for Barcelona in 2008. He's 26 years of age tonight, his 39th appearance for Spain with 14 goals. He has been absolutely mobile and providing a ton of movement here so far in this one. Jordi Alba knocked that inside to Alonso. Alba made his name at Valencia. Incredible the amount of experience on this Spanish team. Santa Maria can't control it. He came on in the second half against the Ivory Coast, but again you see the youthful nature on the faces of the Salvadorian players.
Yeah, and they've been trying to go forward. They're not just sitting back. I think they're made to sit back because of the difference in quality, of course, but we've seen on a couple occasions that El Salvador, when given the opportunity, will send numbers forward.
Alonso gets it off his feet. Sergio Ramos. Fabregas. Remember, he set up Iniesta in the 2010 World Cup final against the Netherlands. Battling play from Alexander Lavín, who had his hands full with the Ivory Coast and the likes of Didier Drogba and Gervinho this past Wednesday night. Here's a good look at Lavín, only 21 years of age, plays for FAS. Burgos. Heavily pressing there is Burgos. He's up for the moment.
What I find interesting here that they're overloading on this right-hand side because just now you see Koke making his way back to on that left side, but for the last 2 or 3 minutes you've seen both Pedro and Koke on the same side, and you see Alba is given that space to fill in from his left fullback position.
Here's Koke central now. Flips it over the top. It's a wonderful idea. And trying to run it down was Diego Costa. And it'll be a goal kick. Diego Costa, part of Atletico Madrid, who made history this year, winning La Liga, expected to go to Chelsea. This was a defining season for him in world football, Diego Costa.
Yeah, it was, and I look at this and I can't help but think, Glenn, that think of the confidence that Spain is coming into this tournament. You have Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid playing in the Champions League final, of course, right? You have Atletico Madrid winning La Liga, which was unthinkable, really, to some degree. Diego Simeone doing a great job. Barcelona maybe not at their best, but still so much quality there. So, some will say they're tired. Some will say the cycle has ended. I am not so sure that you want to take them for granted.
Still one of the favorites in South America, and their playing style also could be very conducive to playing in Brazil. Switching the point of the attack. Here's Alba. Iniesta's pulled out on the left now. Iniesta cutting in on his right, slides the ball to Alba. He's going to try to square it back, and it'll be a corner for Spain here, but they play in tight spaces beautifully, an example of it there.
And Iniesta is one of the best in the world in that. Such confidence, of course, such vision there from Iniesta to find Alba.
Short corner, Iniesta. Xabi Alonso. Back to Iniesta now. Throws to his right, makes space, gets across and cleared. Everybody back behind the ball right now for El Salvador. 17 minutes in. pro-Salvadorian crowd here in Landover. And boy, at first I thought Henry Hernandez had come off his line a bit early there, but in the end things worked out nicely.
But I think that he's doing a great job because, you know, on one hand you look at him and you're thinking maybe he's overcommitting a little bit, but I think he's being proactive. He knows that he's going to see a lot of those balls, and he's going out there saying, this is all mine, this is my area. If you're going to beat me here, you're going to have to deal with me. Now, he may eventually pay the price for that, but maybe not. I love his attitude, by the way.
He's not going to sit there. He's definitely been aggressive off his line here today. As you mentioned, Xabi Alonso. Iniesta pulls out on the left. He's cutting back in on his right. Fabregas left a bit of a lazy ball, but a bad ball made a good one there by Koke. Xabi Alonso now. He's got his head up. There's some of the quick ball movement there that the Spaniards are so renowned for.
The only thing you can tell your players, and they do have a Spanish coach, is of course, you know, don't watch the ball, watch the players. The ball is going to be played there. 1 touch, 2 touch from Spain, of course, but don't lose sight of the player that you're marking.
Manager is Albert Roca, 51 years of age for El Salvador. He's a native of Spain. Played mostly in the Spanish second division. He's been an assistant, though, at Barcelona for 5 years, from 2003 to 8. So it's obvious he's got the connection. He's preparing El Salvador for the Copa Centro America.
So he's made a mistake. He left just before Barcelona had that unbelievable run. I think it was 2009, of course, when they won, I don't know, 6, 7. Every trophy there was to be won, I suppose. And under Pep Guardiola, this was some Barcelona side.
Well, as we both know, timing is everything. Here's Alvarez. He barely had a touch here in the first half.
20 years from now, nobody's going to remember. So if I were him, I was going to, you know, I would claim that I was part of that.
Just to be an assistant at Barcelona, that in itself says something.
Of course.
Costa making it. So how do you think Costa's mobility is? Player down here. Again, this is part of the worry here in a game like this.
It's Alba, isn't it?
It's Jordi Alba.
Well, let's see if he just gets stepped on or he actually twisted right there. You can see a tough touch. It's a combination. There's contact first, and the way I think he braces himself, he comes down on the top of his foot. So I tell you, that doesn't look good. It doesn't mean that he's not going to recover from that, but this is not just simple contact there.
Tackle with Arturo Alvarez. 20 minutes in. Spain and El Salvador tied at 0 here at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. This is the Road to Brazil series. Glenn Davis alongside former U.S. national team member Janis Mihalik. Let's go back to Diego Costa. How has his mobility been today? Does he look like a player that is not struggling with any injury problem?
I've been watching. I don't think he's at his best. That's to be understood. But I just don't even think that they've been looking for him. Now, part of the game, of course, is that he has to find the game. That's where he's at his best. But with the way this has been played so far over the top, he hasn't been the target because the channels are open. I think they're looking in the wide areas, of course, in particular for Pedro in that situation. But I think we need a little bit more time. Doesn't look 100%, but it may just be perception because we're looking for little things right now.
Alba has walked off, seems to be okay. For the moment, Spain with a man down. Off the free kick, they play the short one, they clip it into the far post. Tons of unmarked players in here, and that was bicycled out by Larin, who brings the Salvadorian crowd to their feet with that acrobatic clearance.
And you can see the reaction of Javi Martinez. He's not happy because I don't think he's realized that he was so wide open. He was trying to play that ball on. There were a couple players making runs, but I think if he just tries to receive that, he's free on goal. So didn't get the shot.
Fabregas trying to push it down the line. Trying to bring it in front. Busy work from Santa Maria. It'll be a free kick El Salvador.
Well, here's the end product. As you can see it here. I mean, that's good defending, I suppose. You have to do what you have to do. But it was high for Javi Martinez, but I still think had he realized how wide open he was, I think he would have tried to bring that ball down somehow.
And clip forward. towards Alba, and it's a good area to target, certainly from an aerial perspective. Play that away from Sergio Ramos, but Spain wins it back, and that's a good ball from Alonso. Diego Costa is pulled out on the sideline. Here's Costa down. Ball into the top of the box, and hard tackling unit at the back so far from El Salvador. That was Mendoza who broke that up. Cesc Fabregas. Iniesta lost. It was very similar to the Ivory Coast game where El Salvador in the beginning was pretty game until Gervinho and Didier Drogba began to find their form in combination.
Yes, I mean, it's easy to say that they need to be more adventurous, but you are playing against Spain. You've got to be tight in all formations. The formations not allow Spain to have, space in between the lines. So you can't blame El Salvador for this approach, I suppose. I'd like to see again, if given an opportunity, they've done that in the first couple minutes to go forward. But the trouble is that sometimes you may not have that opportunity because Spain possesses the ball so much. The question is, how do you win the ball off of Spain? You're always a second late, aren't you?
Yeah, that was the problem for El Salvador against Ivory Coast. They get to the halfway line and it would all break down. And on that night, it was Lester Blanco playing as the deepest lying forward, that lone forward role that Rafael Burgos has to play here tonight.
In that game, to be fair, Nestor Renderos did a pretty good job. He was in that holding role just in front of the back four. I thought he read the game well. Yes, at times he was overwhelmed because of not just the pace, but the physicalness of Ivory Coast. When you have Drogba coming your way, you have all these players, Gervinho with pace. So I suppose it's never easy. It's a different lineup today.
Koke. And Koke's been operating really in a central role here today.
And I'll tell you why. Because of Iniesta. If you watch him play, of course, Iniesta, even in Barcelona 4-3-3 system, but he can play in the midfield and he can play in the front line as well.
And here's Iniesta on that wide left position there. Him and Alba have been doing all the work out wide. The player goes down, no call from Toledo. You make a couple of good plays against Spain. You'll never forget that in your career. But again, it breaks down. El Salvador having a hard time stringing 5 or 6 passes together in this one.
I was fortunate to play against Spain, and this is years and years ago.
Fabregas over the top. Here's Diego Costa trying to get turned again. Kind of lumbered around here today. Into the box. Broken up, and here's Hernandez. You were talking about when you played against Spain.
And I'll tell you what, I think it took me 4 days to recover from that game because nothing's changed. I mean, that team was maybe not as good, but still one of the best in the world, and that's what happens. You're chasing shadows very often. You know what's going to happen, but as I've said, you're always that second late. You know you're going to be late, you're trying to get there, and you just never do.
Good work from Burgos, not only to bring that down, but then make something positive, which is essentially earning a free kick and allowing him to move El Salvador up the field here now.
That's his role when he does see the ball, and that's not going to happen often, to do something with him. He's spot on now. I mean, he's done a pretty good job there so far. We've seen him now 2 or 3 times being involved.
25th minute. El Salvador off a free kick. Santa Maria is standing over it, but it's not going to be Santa Maria. It's over the top. Larin pretty ambitious, trying to score from about 38, 40 yards out here. Against a goalkeeper like Iker Casillas. By the way, got off the hook in the Champions League final. Iker Casillas.
Yes.
Made a very rare but big mistake to put Atletico Madrid up. Here's Pedro again. Again, is that direct option? Very interesting to see how direct Spain is playing today. It's either to Costa or Pedro.
Yeah, the trouble is that I don't think a lot of these balls are intended for him. That's what I find mostly interesting, is you would think if you play over the top, if you're Spain, you're going to be looking for Diego Costa so others can run off of him as well. But it has been more Pedro than Costa.
Is it something that's just presented itself, and that's what Spain's seeing, to try to play in behind El Salvador because of where their line of restrainers, or is this something that maybe Vicente Del Bosque said before the game? Look, let's work a little bit on this.
I think it's a little bit of both. And as I've said, I think when you have that sort of target player like Diego Costa, why not use it? As we've mentioned, remember, in the last European Championships, they didn't have that player. So they had to play a little bit differently, I suppose. But right now, it gives you that option, and that's refreshing. I mean, many have been asking for a different look. Plan B, as they call it. I'm not sure if it's a good thing because their Plan A is usually outstanding. But it's good to have that balance.
Fabregas, again, he picks his head up, and again, here's a direct ball. Costa is onside to try and make it 1-0. Costa's shot is blocked. Getting back defensively was Garcia. Boy, they, who says they can only pass the ball over 7 yards? There's been some pretty accurate balls over distance here.
But now I can tell you, that was pretty cumbersome for Diego Costa. It took a while. The way he received that ball, that's one thing. That's under pressure from a defender. But after that, you didn't have that first step that he usually has with his physicality to get away from players, to protect the ball. So,
my judgment now is he's slugging.
Yes.
Of course, this may be a game to work him back into it, so we're not going to read too much into it.
Because that's exactly what's happening. He needs, some minutes, some games.
Juanfran knocks it back. Koke. Koke, by the way, is the youngest player on Spain's World Cup squad at 22 years of age. Alonso drives a beautiful ball into the feet of Iniesta. He tried to help it on to Fabregas or make that Jordi Alba. And it just doesn't come off. 29 minutes in, tied at 0. Spain and El Salvador. It's Alba and Iniesta really looking that left side of the field in the El Salvador half of the field. And look at this turnout from El Salvadorian fans here at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. Tell you what, on this Road to Brazil tour, every game that El Salvador plays in, they are packing them in. Their fans have come out in strong support. What a passionate soccer country El Salvador is as well.
It truly is, and hopefully this new project is going to work out because there's been a number of years now where I feel that El Salvador haven't been their best.
Costa, Hernandez is off his line. It's great goalkeeping, totally aware. And outside of his 18, becomes a covering player.
And again, speaking of, confidence, he comes out and Diego Costa knows, and now you have to adjust for that, right? Not any ball over the top is going to work. So I think if Spain's going to be interesting, they'll still play over the top. They've been doing this the entire game so far, but now you have to play to feet. You can't play into space because, as you see, Hernandez is not afraid to come out of his line.
Iniesta cutting inside, trying to pick out Alba. Those two have really tried to combine. Burgos is not going to win that header over Javi Martinez. Bayern Munich paid big money for Javi Martinez. Juanfran.
Watch Hernandez in the starting position right now, and still just backpedaling a little bit, but tell you from experience as a defender.
Offside flag is up. To the run from Juanfran, who started his career at Real Madrid from 2004 to 2006. The 29-year-old tonight, only his 7th cap, and he plays now at Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, just got himself ahead of the last defender and right in front of the assistant referee there. So an easy decision for him. But speaking of Hernandez, I want to make this point because I think it's important. As a former defender, I always wanted a goalkeeper that was alive, because defensively you lose a lot less energy when you know you have a goalkeeper that's going to call it off, as we say it, and he's going to say it's mine. You don't have to make those 5-10 yards backwards and backtrack. And you know how important that is in terms of saving your energy, especially against a team like Spain.
Koke, Iniesta, Xabi Alonso, back to Koke now. And a player like Juanfran also getting more attention based on the success of Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone. That's why you see the limited caps. He's only got 6, but you have to think his performance this year, the light was shined on it with the success of Atletico Madrid.
You're absolutely right, because for me, Juan Fran has always been good, but it's so difficult to make it on this team that sometimes you need that spotlight, right? When everybody sees you, and all of a sudden people are saying, well, what about Juan Fran?
Here is Juan Fran right now. What about him? It's a cross-in. Alba's going to get there, who seems to be fine after the tackle with Arturo Alvarez. He'll knock it back to Xabi Alonso. What a piece he is at Real Madrid, and what a piece he was at Liverpool, Xabi Alonso. Iniesta, Alba. Back to Iniesta. They are backing in El Salvador. Iniesta lets fly over the top, and it'll be a goal kick, El Salvador, but why not? Maybe pull him out a bit.
You can see it here, how he lines it up, and again, that's pretty good, because you have to look at the blue jerseys, probably 7 or 8 players. Now, if you don't pressure the ball, they'll eventually find the channel. You can see it here, just getting underneath it a little bit too much.
And let's talk about this Spanish team, because with so many players on Real Madrid and Barcelona, there seems to be an incredible esprit de corps and camaraderie. And they seem to be able to really put that rivalry, for the most part, behind them when it comes to representing the country.
Yeah, because I think it's overblown a little bit. You know, we tend to look at it, of course, because you look at the Clásicos, of course, and there's a huge rivalry there. But we're looking at it. It's not just Barcelona, Real Madrid. You look at Atletico Madrid, only 1 foreign-based player in the starting 11.
It's a late tackle there from Santa Maria. He caught Juan Fran.
Let's see, Santa Maria in from behind, just coming a little bit late.
That one over the top. Trying it from the halfway line. The element of surprise there.
But remember, just 10 minutes ago, I told you that he's adventurous. Now he may have to pay the price, for that, and he didn't here. But this is great players figure out a way. So this was just a message sent, to the goalkeeper, saying, well, if you're going to come out, just be careful, because we can do this.
Yeah, we're aware of it. Over the top it comes. There's Costa now with a little bit more of a burst. He took that one right to the head, the clearance from Hernandez. And it has shaken him up a little bit.
Wow, he looks lovely. He does. That caught him by surprise, of course, right there from the goalkeeper. Being physical and aggressive. Ooh, and there's a step on it as well. Tell you what, a couple of things. One I don't like, because I think Costa right there wanted to stomp on the player. It looked that way to me, and in the end, of course, that catches him, and you could see his reaction. And certainly from that distance, with that sort of power, you can understand that it may affect him.
He played twice for Brazil, Diego Costa, before deciding to show his allegiance to Spain. So that's a fascinating story in itself that brings up all kinds of conversation.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. I'm not going to hide it. He was choosing, he was looking. In Brazil, in terms of forwards, maybe not as good a chance. He's played for them. It's almost like a little bit of a trial. What do I like best? And I don't want to question him on that, but
Santa Maria, we'll get back to that in a second. Flores. The most possession El Salvador had, bringing their crowd to their feet.
Very much appreciated by the crowd here, that's for sure.
Fabregas. 200 appearances for Arsenal for Cesc Fabregas. Sergio Ramos now. And you mentioned before, fatigue factor always a real question mark amongst teams, and we don't get it answered till we see them get into group play. But boy, these are players that have logged a lot of minutes and played a lot of high-level games. They're making high-level plays. Juan Fran to the far post. Over everybody. Alba, Xabi Alonso. Flipped over the top, the header just goes wide. Tremendous run by Fabregas, who's showing up in all areas.
Yeah, Fabregas has been the most dangerous player for Spain, no question about that. And I think he needed to head that ball across the goalkeeper. Look at that ball clipped, and you got to go to the far post here, and maybe a little bit off balance, I suppose. Maybe he's reaching for that just a little bit. This will tell us that no, he's got to do better. I think if he goes to the far post, then I think Hernandez would probably have no chance to get to that.
Costa also coasting into the middle there. A goal kick from Hernandez. The header's helped on towards Burgos. Here's Sergio Ramos. He's flicked on by Kevin Santamaria.
He's been their best player, I think, Santamaria. He's been in the thick of things on both sides of the ball. We've seen him tackle, we've seen him defend, we've seen him, having a look to initiate something.
Swings it in, clear by Jonathan Barrios, who plays for Metapan. Quick turn. Fabregas is fouled, sets up a dangerous free kick here. How quickly Cesc Fabregas got turned there. Iniesta, Koke, Sergio Ramos, all standing over this. Tries it. And you kind of got the sense he would, because if it was going to be clipped into the box, he might have been one of the targets.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. You look at his stance, look at the run-up. Yes, that suggests a cross, but I think if you watch Sergio Ramos, he's very, very capable of doing that. And I just didn't think there were enough targets for him to cross that ball, so I was fairly sure that he was going to do that. Hernandez looked overcommitted a little bit to me towards his right post, because if you know Sergio Ramos, you know he's going to be looking over the wall right there. But in the end, you could see the footwork was pretty good from Hernandez. He was there in time if that was on target.
Ramos wins that header. Iniesta just cushions it down. Pedro Larin is the king of the bicycle kick here today.
This is definitely a different look from Spain, I have to tell you, because we often look at it in the possession for the sake of possession sometimes. They're really, really direct, looking for Pedro. Now, he seemed to like that thing. This is the second time we've seen it, of course, and that to me is more desperation than anything else, really. He did get a piece of it, so that was important, because Pedro was on his bike.
40th minute now. And there is Albert Roca, 51 years of age, native of Spain, the coach of El Salvador. This has to be a special moment for him, because I'm sure he's got ties with almost every guy across the bench from him. Koke. Pedro back to Koke now. Particularly heavy. The lines are tight for El Salvador.
Xabi Alonso is playing center back. He's the last player right now. The two center backs aren't even there. That's the advantage you have. You can bring so many players going forward, because El Salvador, the line of defense is set so deep. If I'm Burgos, the manager will tell him that he's got to stay there, regardless if he gets the ball or not. But that keeps two players back.
And it's Alonso and Javi Martinez right now. Coming off the feet of El Salvador quickly, tackled away, headed out now by El Salvador. Iniesta gets there. Oh, what an idea. Almost shooting in to get on the end of that was Wantron. Quickly that ball was delivered out of midfield. Spain wins it back. Great tracking work there by Pedro. In 2009 and 10, he became the first player to score in 6 different official club competitions. Who will ever forget that year he had? There's Hernandez again off his line.
To be fair, he hasn't been same since, really. But, you know, that success came so quickly. It's so difficult, so much pressure. He's such a young player still. He was very young. He was outstanding, Pedro, wasn't he? David Villa was still there. I mean, that Barcelona team was, you know, we can argue the best ever, really.
Alvarez heads it down to Burgos. Here's Alvarez now. Would be the penalty kick against the Ivory Coast. Puts the ball in behind Spain. It's not a bad one. It dies at the 18, but Iker Casillas gets a rare touch on the ball here in the first half.
El Salvador's tempted to go forward some numbers, but you know that as well as I do, that if you get stretched in transition, Spain's going to pick you apart, so you almost have to have 8, 9, 10 players behind the ball.
Fabregas, Diego Costa on the turn. Looked like he was a favorite to get a shot off, and then got involved with his other foot, and it's out for a goal kick.
Just looks tentative, doesn't he? I mean, you can sense it here. Normally, I mean, he's going to be all over that. Look at that ball. You know, the left foot gets in front of the right one, so maybe we're making too much of it. But, you know, when you're in form, when you're confident, these things don't happen.
Well, when they had to go to Barcelona and get that result, which was ultimately a 1-1 draw, he started the game and came off literally 8 to 10 minutes into it, burning a substitution and making it seem like it was going to be a very difficult day for Atletico Madrid, and ultimately that we get the tying goal and go on and win the La Liga title.
They found a way, didn't they? I didn't think they would.
And they were 2 minutes away from winning the Champions League. And a 1-0 lead ultimately going down 4-1 to Real Madrid in extra time. Fabregas. Xabi Alonso. It's Pedro.
Here's quickly taken over the top. We've seen that. It's miscontrol, really.
No additional time as of right now has been added here in the first half. We haven't seen anything. It'll be a goal kick. And here's a rarity, a goalkeeper not taking his own goal kick. And you wonder if something's wrong with Hernandez. Again, Burgos is that lone striker wearing number 9 going up against the likes of Ramos and Martinez, and it's going to be very difficult to win anything in the air there. Koke, Xabi Alonso. Again, Alonso went to Real Madrid in 2009. I believe he's already been there 5 years. You still can see him in a Liverpool uniform. Santa Maria. Burgos was running away. Martinez stepped in nicely. Outside of the football, Costa trying to get there. Tucking in nicely was Alexander Mendoza. Only his 4th appearance for El Salvador. So many of these young players have well under 10 caps.
Are they going to survive this 1-0 at halftime? Pretty positive result, regardless of how you know, they've had their chances. No shortage of creative players, of course, in Spain. I mean, you look at the bench and you still, you know, Mata, Santi Cazorla, David Silva, of course, that can come in.
Alba. Fabregas. Tries to back heel it. And it'll earn a corner, and up will come Javi Martinez and Sergio Ramos to try and get on the end of this corner. Going over to take it. Koke. And again, it's a short one. 2 center backs remain in the box. Shot over the top. Pedro whipped it off his right foot, couldn't put it on target. And we are into stoppage time. Whistle blows. That'll do it here at the end of the first half.
Yeah, difficult here under tremendous amount of pressure from Santa Maria. That's exactly what you want. Just pressure for him to miss that.
All right, what do you make of that first half, Giannis?
Yeah, it was different, over the top, I suppose. I think in the second half we may talk about the width. I'm not saying there was lack of width, but without Jesus Navas, there's a little bit of controversy of him not being here. But again, surprised to a degree because they gave us a different look. Number of chances, of course. The penalty miss was the first one, but Fabregas, of course, with 2 or 3 other chances. This man, as we look at him, hasn't been at his best, that's for sure.
Spain 0, El Salvador 0. Villa getting set to come on. Let's see. And also more star quality.
Santi Cazorla.
And Cazorla.
Oh, and Silva as well, so 3 substitutions for Spain.
And you imagine that. David Silva, Santi Cazorla, and David Villa as your subs.
Yeah, you think there's going to be that creativity, as I mentioned, in terms, you get that with Cazorla and Silva, of course. David Villa, probably a Pedro role. We don't see him here. That's where you're going to see David Villa more. So it could be, I wonder if they're going to switch to 4-4-2. Probably not, but
Diego Costa remains on.
Yeah, but no Cesc, no Pedro. Trying to see who the third player was. Koke, by the looks of it, maybe.
Yeah, Koke is not on. Where is he? David Villa will earn his 80th cap today with 20 goals. Of course, win the Premier League with Manchester City. And Spain in red, El Salvador in blue. The second half is underway here in Landover, Maryland.
Coca still there.
Jordi Alba knocks it inside. Javi Martinez is behind Koke, who plays it wide. There's the running of Costa now. He's more by Mendoza.
No, Iniesta is the third player.
Iniesta is also off. Switch of play here to Alvarez. He's got a bit of skill. So back to Garcia. Goes all the way back to Hernandez. Menjivar to Santa Maria. Xabi Alonso stays on. Cesc Fabregas is also taking a seat here for the second half. Burgos facing Alba. Burgos has won it. No foul. He's looking for support. Not getting a whole lot.
Smart there from El Salvador. See, not a lot of space there. They just moved their lines a little bit forward, not allowing Spain to come out. Of course, when you have throw-ins like this and when you have a team pinned in the corner, it's smart to do that. As we mentioned, this El Salvador team is a young team, but yet good recognition from them. Totally different look. We haven't seen that much in the first half.
Burgos, Alvarez trying to get across him with his right foot block. Xabi Alonso will knock it towards the halfway line. Villa knocked off it. With power by Santa Maria. El Salvador fans starting to get lifted here a little bit with a little possession play and territorial play in the Spanish half of the field.
Yeah, and again, now Santa Maria in the thick of things. I like what he's doing, really, as I said, and what I like about him is that he does it on both sides of the ball. Defensively, he's physical enough. You saw he won possession of that ball, then went for that strike. And by the way, that looked on target. It was blocked, but adventurous to say the least.
Pedro is off also for Spain here in the second half. Pedro, Iniesta, and Fabregas. We take the bench for Silva, Villa, and Cazorla. Cross is blocked. Here's Ramos. And again, higher pressure from El Salvador.
And it's worked. Loss of possession for Spain. That's significant.
It's Alexander Larin. Chested down by Burgos. And Juan sees it out. Quick throw to Martinez. Ramos. And dangerous play in this area. Maybe a chance for Alvarez. And Casillas comes to the rescue. Some very sloppy play at the back from Spain. And very casual.
Yeah, very careless from Sergio Ramos. You know, obviously he plays at a level that he thinks he can, but you got to respect the opponent right there. I mean, he knew he was under pressure. He had no options on either side, really. And he had two El Salvadoran players in front of him. You know, in that case, just like any player, I don't care if you're a Spanish player and you're World Cup winner and Champions League winner, you just got to clear that ball anywhere.
Casillas to the rescue. Villa has won it. This is big trouble. David Villa. David Villa. Still cut back. David Silva, excuse me, making that run.
Yeah, he does that for Manchester City on so many occasions. I think in terms of creativity, for me, he's the player that most likely is first off the bench if there are problems there.
David Silva running at the heart of the El Salvador defense. What a season he had for Manchester City.
Yeah, so much been said about Yaya Toure, of course. What a wonderful season for him. So many goals, the leading goal scorer for Manchester City. If my memory serves me right, you know, not easy from, you know, to do that from midfield, but I think, you know, most would agree that David Silva was outstanding in between the lines. And quite frankly, in the Premier League, I don't think there are teams that have figured out how to mark him, really, because he is moving all over the place. He knows how to find that space just in between the back four and the midfield.
Spent 6 years at Valencia. He's won the EPL twice, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and Community Shield with Manchester City. Here's Costa over the top now. Still 0-0 here in Landover between Spain and El Salvador. Alonso, Alba, Cazorla. Silva. Costa. Whipped out wide by Koke and whipped back into the box. Hernandez at full stretch. Lifts the crowd here and holds this beautifully.
Yeah, Hernandez has been good. He's got the eye for the spectacular a little bit. Juan Fran with that delivery, and look at this. I mean, confidence all over the place. We've seen it. He's been outstanding so far. Really no takers there. For the most part, Diego Costa the closest one, but just a good read, good anticipation from the goalkeeper, not being afraid to obviously get in that crowd.
He's been one of the star men today for El Salvador. The goalkeeper, Hernandez.
Look at Silva on the ball. He's the playmaker. That's the difference. Iniesta usually on that left-hand side. He creates from the wide positions where David Silva, look at him.
Silva left it for Villa. Still Silva. Tries to square it in the box. Costa was there. Shooting opportunity. Koke. Look at deflection. It'll be a corner to Spain. So David Silva has come in here in the second half and changed things up a bit here for Spain.
Everything from a different position, of course. So you can't compare him to Iniesta because it's, as I mentioned, a little bit different. Koke now more central, of course. With Xabi Alonso, you see Cazorla on that left-hand side where Iniesta was for the most part.
Towards the sixth. Punched and helped on by the goalkeeper Hernandez, who gets out beyond his six. Sergio Ramos was in there. He's 29 years of age, Henry Hernandez. By the way, this is only his 5th ever appearance for El Salvador. He's for Salvadorian club Metapan. And he is living up to the moment here today. Silva. Villa. Villa. Shot is blocked again by Hernandez. He is the star man for El Salvador today. Denies David Villa.
You know, the interesting thing about him, as you look at that wonderful delivery once again, look at that touch to bring it down. That's outstanding. Maybe he handcuffed himself just a little bit. But I look at Hernandez, and I think he's late. I mean, a lot of times you think they're just going to dink it over him, but he just makes himself look big, right? And it's difficult. So not a lot of room, to be fair. David Villa did great. It wasn't almost like he had a glue on his boot to bring it down. But then, you know, that figure of Hernandez coming out, and he's difficult to beat.
What do you think of David Villa signing with New York City FC, spurning another year at Atletico Madrid? He's on his way to Major League Soccer in the United States.
Yeah, I think he understands that this is a great project right now. I mean, he's done everything there, you know, that he could do. Look at that touch, and see, it just bounces on him a little bit too high, and that allows Hernandez to get a little bit closer. But you know, he's won at Barcelona, at Atletico Madrid. I think now is the time he understands that there's a positive organization in behind. Of course, he's going to be very familiar with Chiqui Begiristain, of course, and Ferran Soriano, who know him from, of course, Spain and Barcelona as well. So it's not a problem. Now he's going to be with Melbourne. That's another team that Manchester City own right now. So to bridge that time, I suppose, before NYCFC is going to play.
Huge round of applause for Salvadorian goalkeeper Henry Hernandez. He's up and is healthy. This goes all the way back to Nico Casillas, who has had to come up with two important plays here today. Alonso, Jordi Alba, agonizingly, Xabi Alonso had to sit on the sidelines and watch the Champions League final.
That's got to be changed. No question of that in the World Cup as well in the past, but I mean, look at their run, what was it, like 9 games, and, you know, 2 yellow cards in a competition like this to prevent you from playing.
Whipped out wide by Cazorla. That cross is measured way over everybody. Jordi Alba wasn't even close to 3 players making a run into the penalty area.
Yeah, it's the one that gets away from you.
Okay, so El Salvador's going to make a change now. And here comes Nestor Renderos, who did play well against the Ivory Coast. Off comes Kevin Santamaria. Santamaria had some good moments in the first half.
Interesting, yes, he was good. As I mentioned, Renderos did a good job just sitting in front of that back four. So it's a smart decision because you can see what Silva has done in coming, and he's going to be in that area where Renderos is going to be. So maybe it's just a recognition and knowing, obviously the manager knowing the ability of Renderos.
Player going off with 5 caps, being replaced by one with 4. Just to let you know the level of experience of some of the Salvadorian players who are really getting real opportunity now. They cleaned their national program up. Players took bribes in 2013. 14 of those players were banned for life. And they're going with a youthful direction now under Spanish coach Albert Roca.
And to be fair, this game is probably worth 10 caps in terms of experience.
Yeah, good point. Silva. Little dink ball over the top. Footed shot was blocked, again whipped into the box, just past the near post. Villa was in there. And there is David Villa, the superstar.
Yeah, a couple of things about that play. Alba probably had the time to bring that down, as you see it here, but it's kind of smart because with pace, you're putting that ball across the penalty area, and all you need is a little bit of a touch and redirecting of that ball. It was Villa right there, but you could see it just came way too quickly for him to even kind of get out of his own way, if you will.
58th minute, Hernandez off the goal kick. Garcia knocked it inside. And the second half against the Ivory Coast, El Salvador, once subs were made, changes were made, they lifted their level, and they're trying to do it again here against none other than the #1 team in the world, Spain. Costa's the target here. And again, Hernandez, who's really got a long range outside of his 6-yard box here today.
Yeah, you're right. El Salvador didn't lift their level, but you can see it here that so did Spain in this particular one. Different tempo, more energy here in the second half from Spain as well.
Ramos, Jordi Alba. Martinez. And Silva to come back deeper to pick it up. Here's Xabi Alonso now. There's no Gerard Piqué. And you got to think that pairing of Ramos and Piqué is, at this point, at the height of its maturity.
You have to imagine that these two will play together, but yeah, Javi Martinez is fully capable of playing there.
Silva got it from Cazorla and earns a corner. Alvarez came back and to double up David Villa. To the far post, the header's back, the net is empty, it's 1-0.
Well, Glenn, I had a feeling that Hernandez was going to pay the price at some point, and yes, no man's land, maybe not, but you look at that ball to the far post. Let's see if that's no offside. Look at Sergio Ramos just getting there first, and you can see David Villa right there, an empty goal to put it away. But this is one of those times you can be adventurous, you can play off your line, but you got to be squeaky clean. And in that situation, we have to say that Hernandez, as good as he has been, makes a mistake there.
It was a race to get to it between David Villa and Diego Costa.
I just felt in the build-up, first of all, there was no pressure on the ball, and you could sense it here. I wish I said it, that they're not clearing their lines quickly enough. It was in stages. 3 players went forward, 2 stayed back. And I think Sergio Ramos, seeing across the line, he's recognized the fact that he was going to be able to keep himself on side. And if the ball gets there, you could see the experience of Ramos in just, nodding that ball across the penalty area. A couple of Spanish players could have scored that.
57th goal for Spain for David Villa. Burgos now for El Salvador. And it's goal kick now to Spain. Koke getting the full run here today. And why not? He's only 22 years of age. Debut in La Liga came in 2009. As a teenager. 5-2 loss to Barcelona. While a member of Atletico Madrid.
I think he's being tested here. He really is being tested here. One player that we haven't talked about is Busquets, of course. He normally picks himself there. With Xabi Alonso, can they play in this particular system alongside with each other? I'm not sure if Koke is the one.
Cazorla now in the box. Villa, shot the save, Hernandez. Hit right at him. It was almost like it was self-defense. Absolutely jumped off the left foot of David Villa. Alba. Clean tackle. Alvarez. Trying to get out of there. got past Koke, but he could not get past Ramos. The touch going too long. Here is Koke. Oh, look, you always got to have a backup plan in case Sergio Busquets gets injured.
But, this is different. This is higher tempo. This resembles more of a 4-4-2 kind of almost with David Villa a lot more central as you can see it here. And Costa is getting a little bit of help, right? He was kind of isolated there for a little bit. Pedro didn't play badly, but I think it's a different look with Villa, of course. And as you look at this Cazorla just coming inside here, and you look at that strike from Villa, the goalkeeper, but a lot of power on it. You can see that Hernandez was struggling with that a little bit.
Cazorla. Alba. Koke, the far post again. Ramos is in there. The last touch by the goalkeeper Hernandez. I believe it'll be a corner for Spain here.
Pretty much identical to the goal, wasn't it? That ball to the far post. Ramos there, just a little bit tighter and a little bit quicker decision from this man. The goalkeeper reading that cross correctly.
Silva plays the short one. Spain has used the short one on every corner here today. Just preferring to keep possession. Jaime Alas, the creative player, getting set to come on for El Salvador. Out will come Arturo Alvarez.
Yeah, and Jaime Alas, I thought he was pretty good in that game against Ivory Coast. I kind of thought that he may get a start. Alvarez did a good job. Obviously, a lot of tracking, a lot of defending. That can't be easy, really, when you can't express yourself going forward, which I think a player like Alvarez would want to do as well. So it's difficult, and it's easy to say Spain's great. We all know it, but for these young players, it's just a different look. They're not used to maybe defending this much.
There's a lot of work on team shape and accountability defensively going on in games against the Ivory Coast and Spain.
Well, I mean, the discipline has to be perfect, isn't it? And, that's an easy ask, but I can tell you.
Concentration.
Concentration goes, when you lose energy, it's pretty warm out there. You're chasing shadows, as I've said. You have some of the best players in the world in front. It's easy to switch off for a second. And when you do, they punish you for it.
Silva now showing up at the far side of the field. Off the quick throw. They will get it switched through Alonso. Cazorla. Alba. Cazorla's going to try to get there. He's not going to make it. El Salvador wins it back and sticks a long ball over the top. Martinez against Burgos. Macias just with a wonderful, simple play, got out early and was where he needed to be.
Read that well, and he needed to read that well, because I'll tell you what, I think Burgos got the better of Javi Martinez on that play physically.
Villa, the game's goal scorer. Cazorla. Into the box, the header, save Hernandez. To Rafael Costa.
Ball pick for Hernandez again, and Xabi Alonso's got so much time. Look at his distribution. At will, Diego Costa, perhaps thinking that's in the back of the net, and Villa again on that far post. But look at Xabi Alonso. This has been happening, and this is not going to end well. If they don't fix that immediately, where they pressure Xabi Alonso, we all know that in terms of vision and distribution, one of the best. Well,
Alonso out, and Sergio Busquets come on.
One way of fixing that problem. You don't have to worry about Xabi Alonso.
Alonso today gets about 67 minutes worth of work for his manager, Vicente Del Bosque. Del Bosque himself, a player that was a defensive midfielder for Real Madrid. First touch from Busquets. Javi Martinez. How many versatile players on this Spanish side? Nice.
Mobility, similar players, technical players, creative players.
Villa waits it perfectly. Whipped in by Alba. The weight of the pass from David Villa, absolutely perfect.
Absolutely, and you look at Alba, he's not happy with his teammates, and he's absolutely right. This is a great run. The only thing he can do is to put it across the 6-yard box, and somebody's got to get on the end of that. I mean, you're inviting them to put that away, really, and I think Alba did everything exactly the way he needed to do it, but there were no takers.
Silva now coming over to the left side of the field. Juan Fran is pushed way high on the far side of the field. Technically the right back for Spain. Costa's in the middle. Villa's trying to make a little run off that last line of defense. Here's David Villa trying to work a 1-2 with Silva. And it's cleared by Jonathan Barrios. It's been all Spain here in the second half. 60th minute goal from David Villa, the lone one here. Afternoon that this game, I don't know about you guys, but it is flying by here.
Yeah, it's excellent. You know, obviously, because of Spain, it's just wonderful movement with and without the ball. That's what's important. You mentioned the creativity they have in the midfield, and it's one of those teams that, you know, every team has one or two creative players, but if one is off or two are off, then maybe you don't have a good game. Well, here, I mean, you have 5 or 6 or 7. You can almost afford to have a day off to some degree, of course.
Temperature in the 80s. Again, Spain will take on the Netherlands in their first Group B match at the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil, and then it's Chile and Australia. So Villa now looking for support. He's got it. Koke. Alba, Koke again. Gets it off his feet quickly. Busquets. Cazorla. Has to clip it over the top. Hernandez gets it. Initially it was headed by Garcia. And good reaction there from Henry Hernandez, the goalkeeper for El Salvador. Again, we remember 6 midfielders employed in Euro 2012. It was somewhat of a strikerless system, and now they're trying to integrate, it seems, Diego Costa.
Yeah, you know, there's some decisions that had to be made. Alvaro Negredo, of course, and Llorente.
Jesus Navas didn't make this
Navas
team.
in a wide area, which which I thought was a mistake. Although we do have to remember that Jesus Navas hasn't been 100%, so I wonder that may have been a decision that went against him, not just simply the fact that Del Bosque didn't want him.
You could make a team with the guys who didn't make the Spanish team: Navas, Negredo, Llorente, Cavallo, Moreno, Isco, Soldado. Not saying they were locks to make this team, but these are quality soccer players. All starring on big teams. In most cases. Koke. As well to turn a defense. Alas has got to concede the corner. Juan Fran was making the run. It'll be a Spanish corner. 72nd minute.
That's that most difficult ball if you switch off right there. You know that run's coming, that little diagonal run, and you get that ball in between. An inviting ball that is. And that was great defending from Alas.
Here it is again. They have not knocked the direct corner in the entire game here. It's brought into the box.
Well, that's not really all that unusual, really. Barcelona never does it either, because I think the thinking goes that we're not great in
the far post. Ramos was there. Hernandez gets up.
Yeah, you know, not great in here, and by playing short, we continue to have possession. We already have numbers, 6, 7, 8 players, exactly what we want. And, you know, a corner, really, for the most part, it's a 50-50 ball, isn't it? So, I know it's, you know, most people don't like to play that way, but if you're Spain, if you're Barcelona, perhaps you can understand why that possession of the ball is so important.
Yeah, it's the value they place on the ball. It's not like they don't got people that can head the ball, because Costa can, Martinez can. Over the top it goes. Alba has just done an inordinate amount of running here up and down the left side. I mean, this man's physical condition has to be commended here. He is truly box to box. There is an aerial presence. Diego Costa. We're going to get a look at Xavi today as well here in the United States. Crowd erupting. Xavi will come on for Diego Costa.
I think the applause and appreciation for what he's done in the game tells you everything. What a player.
Instantly recognized when he came on the field by this crowd.
I'll put David Villa as the striker, the central figure in that attack.
Milton Molina will come on. And coming off is Andreas Flores, who captained the team today. Handing off the captain's armband to Garcia. So about 15 minutes for Xavi to play here in Landover.
Even more creativity, great vision, distribution of the ball, short or long. I would mention David Villa is going to be playing centrally. Of course, there's still Fernando Torres. Probably most likely won't come in since Villa came in the second half. But it's another player that obviously more of a target man, if you will. Not necessarily, not that I see him that way, but probably a central figure in terms of attacking.
Juan Mata, another attacking player for Manchester United that is still available on the bench. Espilaqueta also. Amazing names. Burgos was the target, they couldn't pick him out. The depth, the wealth of talent, again, something that you need in a short tournament in Brazil, and it just goes on and on for Spain. It's just, I'm still in awe of the names coming on this field here at this point.
There's plenty of them. You know, the reason that they're so successful is that there are no egos either, because you have so many players that are focal figures in their respective club teams, of course, and they probably are not used to sitting on the bench, but yet, you know, they're successful. European Championships, World Cup, so there's a lot to be said about the atmosphere within the team.
Silva over the top, Alba. Be a goal kick for El Salvador. He just couldn't hit that out from under him, but Jordi Alba has been outstanding up and down. 2012, they turned him into an outside back at Barcelona.
Still see David De Gea warming up, which would probably indicate that there may be a switch.
Martinez of Bayern Munich won that header. Renderos is down after some contact with Koke. Martinez, Juanfran now. Juanfran has played the entire match here today. In fact, the back four has stayed intact. No changes there. If you're a defender, you're going maybe 90 minutes here today for Spain. Over the top towards Villa. Headed down by Barrios. Silva helps to win it back. Xavi. Busquets, Cazorla now. Alba. Many a team would have just knocked that cross in, not Spain. Because he had the opportunity to get it over.
Careful decision making, and that goes with that possession. They don't want to lose the ball. They look, sometimes for perfect passes. But yeah, if you have that ball and you don't see any targets in front of the goal, you're best off keeping possession and looking for another option.
Off the corner, they bend it in towards the 6. This is the first corner that's been hit directly into the box, and it was headed away. Koke. Cazorla now. That diagonal run to the far post and squared back. Hernandez spilled it. Still loose, empty net. It's blocked and cleared. Player down is Mendoza, who remains in the box. Spain plays on. And now he's up and they play again. They stopped. The Spanish put their foot on the ball, waited till they got up to see if he was okay, and they continue on.
Last play, Cazorla must have felt like he scored a goal. He was already almost celebrating. I'm not sure if it was Hernandez with another great save there, or
Silva. Cazorla. Pick out Silva, who made the run. Interesting exercise here from Spain right now.
That's Sergio Ramos. He's been a striker right now on that far post. He's found a place for himself. They're looking for it.
Shot off the crossbar. That was Busquets. And that one almost rocked in for goal number 2 for Spain. Yeah, Ramos seems as though he was getting bored with the game, decided to go forward.
I mean, it does seem that way, and I tell you what, this was one time where Hernandez knew nothing about that strike, I can tell you that much. Busquets from distance, it's the sound that it made, a powerful strike.
He placed that audio mic in the perfect spot.
That's true. Well, you can see this one here, and watch Cazorla here. That ball somehow comes his way, and yeah, it is Hernandez making a save. And here's Busquets. Ooh, that ball's dipping. I think Hernandez thinks that's going to go over the top, but it was dipping. He was beaten by that.
Ramos. Cazorla's pulled out here on the left side. Knocks it back inside. Silva. Cazorla. Look at this. They carved out space. Jordi Alba. Tried to square it back. It's blocked. That was Molina. Ramos to Martinez, who brings it down. David De Gea, the Manchester United goalkeeper, will make his way on here for Iker Casillas to get a few minutes here. Again, 1-0 Spain, 82nd minute here, Landover, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. The road to Brazil. Rare opportunity for fans to see Spain on U.S. soil. Glenn Davis alongside Janis Mihalik, former U.S. national team member. So here's David De Gea. Casillas is going to get some amazing round of applause here.
Here comes the future of Spain in goal. David De Gea, no surprise, of course, wonderful. On loan from Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. Absolutely wonderful, of course, and we will see a lot of him in the future. Telling to some degree, because Pepe Reina was always the number 2. I think that's going to end as well. and this is an indication of why. Although if you obviously watch Pepe Reina, a great season himself for Napoli, of course, but I think we'll see De Gea, of course, as young as he is, for a long, long time to come.
He's only 24 years of age. It's his first touch. Suffered through a pretty difficult season with all the controversy at Manchester United, to say the least, based on their standards. Zorla. Silva. Xavi. Quickly, David Silva can get turned. Still Silva. Xavi. Koke back to Xavi now. Sergio Ramos joining in. Zorla. Ramos crosses to the far post, overhits it. And Larin again. His third bicycle kick clearance of the day for El Salvador. That is his thing.
Different way of defending. By the way, you have to know how to do that. I'm not necessarily sure that that's, you know, it should be the base you go from, but it's not an easy thing, I'll tell you that much.
Salvadorians have loved it from the entertainment value side of it, that's for sure.
Well, I'm not saying they had a lot of looks in the first half, but certainly none.
Xavi, what a ball. Pinpoint to Villa. And the offside flag was up. Boy, how quickly it can happen.
Yeah, those runs are in behind and, you know, initiated by the players. But, you know, the beauty of it is that, you know, they know how to deliver that ball, don't they? And you can see it here. Ooh, I'm not so sure, by the way. When the ball was released, he was in an offside position. The assistant referee may have gotten that one wrong.
Precision, the timing is awe-inspiring sometimes from Spain.
I just think with Spain, we take that for granted very often. The ability of all players to deliver that final ball. But let's face it.
And as consistent as they do it. But over the top, they're going to try Hernandez! Just over the bar. It's been a cat and mouse game today between Hernandez and Spain. And I believe that was Busquets with the awareness to try a goalkeeper over the top from the halfway line.
Yeah, as I said, I think, you know, they recognize the fact, of course, that Hernandez, you know, stays off his line, and that was good 55 yards away. Didn't miss it by much.
Tremendous awareness. Coming off is Barrios. 17, Lester Blanco, who got the start against the Ivory Coast coming up this past Wednesday in Frisco, Texas. Will come up. And he's going, I got 5 minutes to try and get the goal of a lifetime against David De Gea in Spain. And again, El Salvador has not even had a shot on goal here in the second half.
Well, I don't want to oversimplify that, but I think, you know, playing against Spain, even if it's a minute or 30 seconds, I mean, it doesn't happen to teams like El Salvador for sure. You're playing against the world champion, you're playing against European champions, of course, and you're playing against some of the best players in the world in terms of club football. So, you know, these players are going to remember that. And by the way, they've done well if you look at just scores alone against Ivory Coast and Spain so far.
Absolutely. There's a lot to be taken away today from everybody associated with El Salvador. Here's Silva now. And it's not over. Villa's going to get the shot. What a goal! The outer defender draped all over him. Strength and power to bring it down. He finishes, and that's coming to Major League Soccer in the United States soon. What a play from David Villa.
Interestingly enough, when you look at Hernandez, he's made so many good saves on the more difficult strikes, I suppose. And if you look at that, it's wonderful, but it's probably effective for a number of reasons. As you see it here, under tremendous pressure, off balance balance a little bit, and off base. And I wonder if you goalkeeper, you're expecting maybe a stronger strike, and you can see it, it's off base, and sometimes that's more difficult. But bit of a handball, little bit of a handball there. I knew there was a lot of pressure, and he brought that down rather easily, but with the help of his hand.
Video doesn't lie. It was Silva to Villa. It was not detected by the referee. That goal will stand. It's 2-0 Spain. And Villa has both the goals coming out as a sub in the second half.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, we spent so much time about Spain, of course, they're going to Brazil, but I think we have to give El Salvador some credit, because if anything else, I've mentioned the results, I think this is something to build on. It's tremendous. It's a new group, it's a young group, it's a new manager, of course, and you know, when you look at these games and you put it in perspective, I think there's an extra step, extra confidence, knowing that you could play to some degree against Ivory Coast, against Spain, at least in terms of results.
Oh, manager's going to use that tremendously. Albert Roca, their new manager, and look, they've extracted all the cancer that was involved in the match fixing. They got a very young, impressionable bunch of players here that will be willing to listen to a veteran coach, and these two results are going to help him get his message through to these players, because never in their lives would they have expected to keep a scoreline like this against both the Ivory Coast and Spain. Silva, but it's not over yet. Still time for more goals here. Azorla. Koke, Azorla, Javi, Villa. A free kick for El Salvador here, 90th minute. And that does it. Spain 2-0 winners here today. David Villa, the second half sub, scores both of the goals. And they delight the fans here. A rare appearance, Spain in the United States. Your final thoughts, Giannis?
Well, if you look at Spain, they gave you the looks, different looks, a lot more direct in the first half than we'd expect, or we've seen in the past. I suppose different look in the second half. I thought Silva and Villa have brought a lot into this game. Diego Costa perhaps not ready. And in terms of El Salvador, we just talked about it. I don't think you can pay for that sort of experience when you build for the future.
Spain prepared for Brazil 2014?
Yes, I think, but they'll recognize the fact. They'll be realistic in knowing that it's not going to be that easy against Holland and Chile and Australia.
Well, that'll do it. For Giannis Mihalik, I'm Glenn Davis. The final score here in Landover, Maryland. Spain 2, El Salvador 0.